What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing. I just finished up watching Jesse Rodriguez versus Cristian Gonzalez, and this was a 12-rounder for the vacant WBO Flyweight World Championship. And this fight was Saturday, April 8th, from the Boeing Center at Techport in San Antonio, Texas. And this fight was broadcasted on DAZN. And in this fight, Jesse Rodriguez was able to get a unanimous decision victory over Cristian Gonzalez. So I personally scored this bout 117-111 in favor of Jesse Rodriguez. The three judges scored this bout 117-111, agreeing with my scorecard 116-112 and 118-110, all in favor of Rodriguez. So I think those scorecards really sum up the fight. I could definitely see all three of those scorecards. I scored at 9-3, one of them scored at 10-2, and then the other one scored at 8-4. I could definitely see all three of those scorecards because there was a few rounds in there that Gonzalez won that could have went to Rodriguez, and there was obviously some of those rounds that Rodriguez won that could have went to Gonzalez. But overall, I mean, this wasn't the greatest performance from Rodriguez. I mean, I expected more from him. Gonzalez, I mean, he showed a lot of heart, fought as best as he could. He's just not that skilled. He has a very unorthodox style, keeps his chin right up in the air, doesn't really throw his punches with great technique. But he's definitely, I mean, a fighter in there. I mean, he was able to go 12 rounds with one of the top young fighters in the game today. But just to break this fight down round by round, the only rounds that I gave to Gonzalez was round 1, 7, and 11. You could have made a case to give him round 12 as well. But just in those were rounds where Gonzalez was able to keep sort of Rodriguez at bay a bit and land some nice shots on the outside, and Rodriguez didn't have as much success in the other rounds he didn't have much success in those rounds compared to other rounds where he was coming forward and really smothering Gonzalez with pressure. But in those rounds 1, 7, and 11, even sometimes, or even in some parts of round 12, Gonzalez was able to land very nice counters on Rodriguez. That's why I gave him those rounds. And in round 12, I would have just edged it to him, but Rodriguez landed some nice body work. And really throughout this fight, the rounds that Rodriguez won were rounds where he was pressing Gonzalez, where Gonzalez wasn't able to do much back, where he was cornering him, throwing big shots on him to the body, to the head, when he was just doing more than him, when he was just more active than Gonzalez, he would definitely win the round. And like I said, when he wouldn't win the round, it was because he was getting tagged a bit from the outside. But I mean, nonetheless, Rodriguez definitely won this fight, and this goes into question: what is next for Jesse Bam Rodriguez? Now 18-0, and just before I actually talk about what could be next for him, just comment down below how you did score this fight after 12 rounds, if you did watch it. But back to that question of what's next for Jesse Rodriguez. He's now a flyweight world champion, now a two-weight world champion, dropped down in weight after vacating his WBC world title at super flyweight. I mean, he could definitely unify in his next fight. I mean, I definitely don't see why not. He could definitely fight Julio Cesar Martinez, who's the WBC champion. He fights on DAZN. I could also see him facing Artem Dalakian, who just fought David Jimenez and won a pretty controversial decision. A lot of people think that Jimenez won. I thought that Dalakian won pretty clear, but I thought it was a pretty boring fight. And then Sonny Edwards is also an option, but I think he's the least likely option. I think the most likely is probably Martinez second, Dalakian, a close second, I should say, and a far third is Edwards. And if he doesn't fight any of those guys, maybe he could face the WBC interim champion McWilliams Arroyo. I mean, Arroyo hasn't fought since that no contest against Julio Cesar Martinez. I don't really know if he's retired or not or anything, but I mean, it's definitely an option because Arroyo has fought in DAZN the past couple times. Or possibly we could see Rodriguez just go the baseline route, defend his title for the first time against like a top 15 contender in the WBO rankings, or his mandatory, whatever, like someone who's top 3 ranked in the WBO, he could defend his title against, maybe something like that as well. But as for Cristian Gonzalez, losing here, I mean, he did fight pretty well, I would say, considering he was a far B-side in this fight. Not even expected to win a round, not even expected to land shots on Rodriguez, but he did. I mean, he didn't do that bad. Arguably, you could say he lost 8-4. So that's not that terrible considering he was such a big dog in this fight. But, I mean, for him, I think he's going to go back to Mexico and fight lower level opposition, because I don't think he's going to get another big call up like this. I mean, maybe if DAZN does another big card in Mexico like they did back in early September of 2022, they did a big card in Mexico with Juan Francisco Estrada fighting on it, Hector Flores fighting on it as well. I mean, that was a very good card. I mean, maybe if they have a card like that, he could fight on it. But otherwise, I see him just going back to Mexico, taking on those lower level opposition, and maybe getting called back up as an opponent in the near future, possibly or most likely on DAZN. So overall, Jesse Rodriguez defeats Cristian Gonzalez by a clear, unanimous decision to become the new WBO Flyweight World Champion. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.